Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate, with host Glen Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glen Sutherland. This week, my repeat guest is Chris McEvoy. Chris, you want to start off by introducing yourself to the audience?
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Glenn. I'm a CPA in Fonthill, Ontario, which is near Niagara Falls. Our office services clients all over North America and indeed all over the world. I'm a Canadian CPA specializing in cross-border taxation and investing, in particular with real estate. So hence my appearances here.
Yeah. For people who are wonder what we're trying to do here is what as a monthly segment we're answering questions that people have reached out to me about, like accounting related things in their business, and so I just want to keep tackling that and help inform all these Canadians about when they're just accounting questions about investing in the US. So the one question that we just had that came in was, how early should I start getting QBO or QuickBooks Online going in your business?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I'll answer it two or three ways. Partly it depends how you're structured. If you have a Canadian corporation and it's sort of linked up with your US structure, you may want one a little sooner, just because with corporate filings, you have to produce a balance sheet and an income statement. Whereas if you're mostly just talking about your personal taxes, you really just need your revenue and your expenses, right? And there isn't as much balance sheet information that needs to be verified. So the second factor is, QBO does help you get ready for your tax filings, but it also helps you manage your business. So there is a monthly fee to pay. And so one thing that good rule of thumb I usually give people is, if you're spending hours and hours every month on organizing your receipts or updating your spreadsheet, it might be time for something like a QBO. The second rule is, if you're losing track, like if there's more going on than you can hold in your head, in terms of who's paid me, who's not paid me, who do I owe money to, how's my profitability on my units. For buy and hold, it's a little more, rinse and repeat every month. So it's a little easier to have just a spreadsheet and get it all out in front of you and kind of compare month to month. So that's sort of easy enough on a spreadsheet. If you get into things like flips, then there's obviously a lot more going on. And with flips, you do have to keep a closer eye, just because, it's not a foregone conclusion that you're going to make money. You really need to know what's going on. And there's a project management and there's a budget and cost management aspect to that. So having something like a QBO, especially if you have multiple flips going on, is going to be really crucial, because you want to keep track of how much, the costs, how they relate to each property, and you want to keep that separate, so that way when you sell that property, did I make money on this flip or not, right? If you have a spreadsheet, or even if you're just not careful enough in your QuickBook and it's all sort of just mushed together, in terms of your spending versus your sales, that's not really adequate in terms of accounting and tax filing, and you're not really going to have a good idea. It's going to be tough to sort of sort out your tax filings, but you're also not going to be as sure if you actually made money or not, which is kind of a problem. When people are just starting out, especially if they're doing buy and holds, you can probably get by with spreadsheets for a little while, depending on how you're structured.
Do you have to have a certain level of education or knowledge to be able to work with QuickBooks Online or do that kind of accounting? Are you interested in investing in the US? I honestly see Canadians making tons of mistakes, simple mistakes that could be avoided by just a quick phone call. Honestly, I think we should just get on a 15-minute call. You ask me some questions, I answer some questions, and I tell you a little bit about the coaching program. We see if it's a fit. My coaching program is completely different than other people's. What my goal is to help you actually implement the material. All the videos are pre-recorded, so you can just zip through those on your own time. But when you're actually buying property, this is what sets me apart, is that we actually sit down, you do your deal analysis, you have questions, ask me some questions. Let me go through it with you. Let me help you. And this is what's going to set it apart. This is why you're going to avoid mistakes. You're going to miss those little things that you just missed that could cost you a lot of money. Maybe I can see it. Maybe my experience. I've been doing this for a while down in the US. Let me help you. Let's do a quick 15-minute call. If that's of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com and you can book a 15-minute call. Anyway, hope this is helpful. Thanks, everyone.
Well, I'll say not as a legal requirement, but I mean, many people do their own books. The other thing is it depends on how many units you have, because as you grow, as you grow your business, you want to manage it like a business, and that means putting in systems and processes, right? So if you have people working for you, if you want to be able to outsource and delegate some of these things, then getting these systems into place is huge in terms of being able to delegate your bookkeeping and your accounting and some other administrative functions and so on, and giving all the people access who need access, and also being able to monitor that and get some meaningful reports at the end of the day that can help you as a manager. So, I mean, those systems are huge in terms of growing your business and managing your business like a business. In terms of bookkeeping, what we see out there, I see everything from the best of the best to the worst of the worst, and it varies. Most bookkeepers wouldn't have what you would say is a professional credential. There is such a thing. It's very rare that you encounter someone that has it, truthfully, just because it's not a regulated industry. So anybody who likes can say, yeah, I'm a bookkeeper. And some of them might just mean I know how to enter data into the system. Others may actually have like an accounting diploma or something from a college or a university. So what I would say is that accounting for things like real estate, for things like flippers, or for things like BRRRR method, for people who are doing that, there's really specific accounting rules around how you're supposed to do that in your books. I'll give one or two simple examples. Okay. Let's say you do a hard money lend at the beginning and you're paying interest while you're rehabbing a unit. That interest is supposed to be part of the cost of the building, not something you deduct month over month. Now, then when you get to one of the last two R's in the BRRRR method, the refinance, right? Then once you've sort of got it to where the unit's occupiable, you're renting it out on a monthly basis, you've done your refi, you're into your new mortgage, that interest is supposed to can now be deducted month over month, because now you're into sort of a more static mortgage that's more related to the ownership of the unit and the monthly rental revenue. Same thing with like what gets capitalized. Let's say you're doing renos versus repairs. How large can a repair be before you have to capitalize it and carry it forward and use it against future capital gains? So there's a lot of nuance when it comes to real estate accounting. So I'm not so hung up on the professional credential, but I am hung up on, do they have experience and do they know how that's supposed to work? Because real estate accounting can be somewhat different than other industries.
It makes a lot of sense. And for people who are going, it's just not something that interests me. I'm not interested in doing accounting or updating bookkeeping. Is that a service that your company does?
Yeah, we do. We find that people get the most value out of us once they're large enough to want to delegate. Just because we use a lot of systems, so we'll use QuickBooks Online or Xero. We'll also use document management systems like HubDoc or Dext. We put in a lot of automation. And so essentially with our firm, the more you've got going on, the better of a deal you're getting. Because we don't bill by the hour, we pick a flat fee, which includes software costs. And, the more volume there is, the better. So for instance, flippers, it's really a really good value because oftentimes they've got a lot of receipts and a lot going on. Right. If someone has, let's say, 4 or 5 rental buy and holds, they would be someone that might say, I'll just do this myself and I'll get by with my spreadsheets for a little while. But certainly the more units you have, or if you're doing flips and BRRRRs and there's actually quite a bit going on at any given time, then you would get an excellent value out of our bookkeeping.
Awesome. Chris, thank you for coming on the show. I think there's a lot of information there. If people wanted to get a hold of you or leapACT to get some information, where would they go for that?
Best way to get a hold of us is go to the website, leapACT.ca. Use our web contact form and let me know that you were listening to the Glen Sutherland podcast.
And also let you know if you're a student as well, because there's some other different codes for everybody. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Glenn.
That was a nice video. Bye.